I made the mistake of eating an entire family-sized box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch last night since I'm a morbidly obese American, and that caused me to pull an involuntary all-nighter due to Cinnamon Toast Crunch basically just being crack cocaine. And listen, I'm no stranger to pulling all-nighters. I mean, every time I stay at your mom's house, she never gives me a break to sleep. But whenever I stay up past like 3 a.m., the thoughts that come to my cranium are nothing short of contemptible. And you know what else is contemptible? Being unfortunate enough to live with a disability that prevents you from experiencing life to its fullest potential. Now, this situation is obviously all negative, but there's one specific circumstance that is widely considered positive. Disability pay. Now here's my question. If someone were to fuck you hard enough to the point where you can barely function, could your dysfunctional ass file for disability? Like, just get your boyfriend or girlfriend to peg you every night with a massive horse dildo, that way you don't have to go to work anymore. And if you do this for months on end to the point where your boss starts refusing disability pay, then it's time to get into some BDSM spinal play. Just remove a disc or two and you should be set up with lifetime disability pay and never having to slave away again. Speaking of slaving away, why do I have to work so fucking hard to dry off my ball sack? I don't know if this is just a personal problem of mine since I have massive fucking nuts, but I swear I'm in the bathroom for 45 minutes patting my scrotum with a towel just for it to still feel slightly moist upon equipping my gown. Like, I'm thinking of copping a whole ass industrial heater just to put under my desk, and that way my fellas finally feel fully dry. But now that we're on the topic of private parts, allow me to ask something I've wondered for eternity. Is it physically possible to give someone a booty hole hickey? Like, if you place your chomper straight onto the black hole Bungus blaster and suck that ass as hard as you possibly can, are you just gonna get a mouthful of shit, or will you leave a lasting ass impression? My vote's on the latter, but speaking of lasting impressions, if you're a YouTuber who censors non-curse words for absolutely no purpose, I just want to let you know that I fucking despise you and hope you wake up with a sore neck for a solid week and a half straight. Like, I just watched a video of a police shooting the other day, where the violence was basically uncensored, and this pussy had the audacity to bleep out the word marijuana. Like, bro, we literally see the weed in a bag in front of us. You're gaining nothing from bleeping that shit out. And not even 10 seconds prior, the cop just said 14 fucking cuss words. And also, I understand why YouTubers censor cuss words, but why can't we just talk like adults? Unless you're making content specifically targeting children, just leave your no-no words uncensored. It's especially infuriating when the person has these bad words in their vocabulary, but still chooses to bleep out every single one of them. Like, why even waste the oxygen saying those words if you're not gonna let us hear them fully authentically? It pisses me the fuck off. Speaking of oxygen, what if good old O2 was actually a poisonous gas that we're forced to inhale day by day, and oxygen is actually the reason we die and don't live forever? I mean, think about it. Why do our organs start to fail as time goes on? From the mass amounts of oxygen that pass through them every day. So instead of oxygen, let's just start inhaling mass amounts of galaxy gas. Alright, that was a weird thought. I apologize. Speaking of weird, isn't it kind of weird how you can't physically move your upper jaw without seriously injuring yourself? Like, whenever you chew, the only part of your mouth that's moving is actually your lower jaw. The upper part is just sitting up there doing nothing. Like, it's just stuck there while your lower jaw does all the work. No matter how hard you try, you'll never be able to move it. Speaking of hard, this next thought is quite hard to imagine. So you know how there's millions upon millions, maybe even billions of YouTube channels? Well, I reckon there has to be at least one person on the planet that would consider YouTube's YouTube channel to be their favorite YouTuber. Similar to how y'all kick your feet and scream when I upload, there's someone who cheerfully cheers with joy every time they get a YouTube upload notification. Speaking of YouTube, is it gay to watch other men on YouTube? I mean, think about it. We've been relying on many men to provide us with cinematic dopamine for who knows how many years. I just feel like it's kind of gay to be excited about growing another man's online empire. Don't worry though, I'm not a man. I'm a Taiwanese ladyboy. Speaking of minorities, if a black person gets a tattoo, would that be considered a symbol monkey? Speaking of monkeys, we can all admit that when looking at large groups of people, we just kind of pass each other off as NPC monkey brains, right? But you gotta remember that every single person you encounter, whether that being from passing them on the highway, meeting them in a random gift shop, briefly making eye contact with a 6'1" Latina mamacita in the bathroom of the Senor Frog Grill in Freeport, Bahamas, they all consider themselves to be the main character in their own lives. And you're just considered an NPC fill-in to them, just like I consider my viewers to be NPCs whose only purpose in life is to watch my videos and give me money. It's very interesting to think about and makes you realize how small and insignificant you truly are. Speaking of insignificant, I have a very insignificant superpower where I can create an entire movie in my head when listening to a song. Like, if there's some badass guitar riff playing, I can picture a whole anime boss fight where I absolutely demolish my operative and save the world. And And every time I hear that song from that point onwards, that same movie plays in my head on repeat, and gradually gets more scenes added to it with each listen. It might be unhealthy, but it's still pretty dope. Speaking of unhealthy, doctors widely consider pulling all-nighters to be drastically unhealthy for a person to experience. But if that was the case, then why do I think of the most spectacular ideas when I'm soaking in my silky smooth jizz-covered blanket at 3 a.m. trying to catch some quality Z's? I'll think of so many banger video ideas slash phrases that when I finally try to go to sleep, I mentally cannot stop cooking up these 5-star thought entrees. The negative side to this though is that I'll be about 90% asleep when an idea comes inside of me and jolts me up. Speaking of jolting up, prepare to jolt yourself out of your chair because it's time to ask my deplorable Discordian members to deliver us with some deliciously delectable thoughts of their own. Car Simp says, since jerking yourself off is widely considered not gay, would bending your ding dong 180 degrees to go into your asshole be gay? No, because that would still be self-pleasure. And the whole terminology behind the word gay is just misconstrued. It's not gay to stick wiener-shaped objects into your asshole, so long as you never stick an actual cock in there. Is it morally wrong to defend myself against a special education child? Of course not. Matter of fact, I say it's highly justified. You never know what those silly little bastards are gonna do. One second you're fisticuffing a Make-A-Wish kid, another second he's letting out a war cry alerting all the other veggies nearby. Just try not to hit him in the head, because one good concussion might turn him into a genie. How can daddy kill Nox if Nox is daddy? Because of whatever daddy wants, daddy gets. If I adopt a kid, is there a warranty? Like if little Tim Tom just so happens to lose his head within the first 30 days of adopting him, can I return him and get a new one as long as I have the receipt? Yeah, the warranty duration depends on the intelligence level of the kid though. So for example, if the kid is a special little fella, then it's only like a 7-day warranty because they're highly replaceable. If you tell someone to break a leg, it doesn't state anywhere it has to be your own. Now I've always thought this expression was retarded, because you gotta be a next level British donut if you tell someone to break a leg, pal. Goofy ass statement, bro. How awesome would it be if you could throw your hands with your teacher for giving you a bad grade, and if you win they have to change it to an 83. This seems oddly specific, but I personally think it would help a lot of students vent their frustration in a healthy way, because my physics teacher in high school was a complete doofus, and I would have thoroughly enjoyed smashing him into the ground. Not like that, you dirty bastard. The only problem was he was fat as shit. If there are only 2 people left on Earth, why don't one of them eat the baby every 9 months? Infinite food glitch. Then this guy says, not enough calories. Plus it doesn't taste good, I've tried it. I'm gonna ignore that last part and give you a logical explanation on why this wouldn't work. It takes too long for a baby to cook up and he would starve before the next batch is ready. What if Santa was the one making snow by drinking so much milk and just shitting it out as snow form, which explains why he can drink so much? I'm gonna be honest, I don't think he's shitting it out, bro. I think he may be using a different form of expulsion. God used racism to nerf black people because they were too OP. What does this even mean? How are they OP? Alright, whatever. Now this next thought is something you gotta read yourself, alright? Because this is arguably the most important thing you've seen in the past year and a half. So I'm gonna give you a couple seconds to really let this one sink in deep inside of you. If a mind reader and someone who could see the future played a game of chess, who would win? Like the mind reader can see the future by reading the other's mind, but the person who can see the future can see what move the mind reader is gonna make. The game would last infinitely until the mind reader just gives up for a single move. Also, what a beta superpower. Imagine being such a pussy that you have to read people's minds instead of just asking them like every other normal human being. You're like the brain rapist of superheroes. Have you ever thought that if your life had background music, you'd easily know if something bad is about to happen? I actually have had this thought before. More specifically, I've thought of how badass it would be to have a whole movie soundtrack dedicated to whatever I may be doing throughout my day. Like whenever I jerk off, some rock music's playing, and whenever I'm sitting here printing money by uploading videos, you got some chill ass classical music lo-fi playing. If you take a shit at the same time as someone else who's connected to your sewage line, you guys both have a direct connection to each other's assholes. Wait, that's kinda hot. Most people that are low-key into someone never tell them due to embarrassment or shame. So you've probably had around 20 to 30 bitches that wanted you without your knowledge. Nah, I know exactly what they want. I just can't be bought out by bitches. They aren't worthy enough to get a piece of my excellency. Unless they pay, of course. I'd be thinking of a life I wish I had instead of this one. This is low-key sad, but it reminded me of a thought I had a long time ago when I heard someone mention deja vu being your brain's way of connecting past lives. It's probably bullshit, but it's quite interesting to think about. When you shove a vacuum cleaner 1 foot into your anus, would it suck out the shit, or would the walls of the large intestine collapse and the entire intestine be sucked out of your body? It depends on the type of coom cleaner. If it's just a little shop vac, then it can probably be helpful in removing your hemorrhoids, but if it's an industrial issued vacuum, then you can kiss your intestines, adios. Y'all should try to think of a color you've never seen before. Not the name of a color, just of the color itself. I do this shit almost every night and it pisses me off a bit knowing I can't do it. It's weird because there's people who've taken crazy drugs that'll say they've seen colors they didn't know existed, and I really want to experience that. Whose dick do I have to suck to get a hand on those drugs? Is a ginger person's ball hairs ginger? Well, as a ginger myself, I can state with utmost confidence that my schlong hair is not ginger-esque. Every time you paint a room, it gets one layer of paint smaller. So theoretically, you could paint away a room. You could paint every wall so much that it's impossible to even get into the room. I wonder how long this would take. Mr. Breast should make this a video. Do you remember when lol meant laugh out loud? Instead of this is to indicate that this brief text isn't meant to be hostile. Yeah, and it's very annoying when someone puts an LOL at the end of a crazy ass statement. Especially when it's an LMAO. Now that shit tickles my fucking tarsus. But you know what pisses me off even more? When people put a space between the last word in a sentence and the punctuation mark. That shit has always come off so quirky and Delta-like to me. If you wear a sweater and start sweating, are you the sweater? This is why I stopped wearing sweaters. Too many So like, you guys know how like your brain puts together stuff in our day and converts it into some weird dreams that make sense while we are in it? What if right now this was a dream and our actual lives were the ones in our dreams? I sincerely hope this is not the case. Because when I was younger, I had a dream about fucking this girl and it felt like there was sand in her vagina. It was not a very pleasant feeling. Isn't the sun technically always rising, since as the earth rotates it rises in the next country over? Actually, the sun just stays in place at the center of our solar system, all the while earth rotates on its axis every day, creating night and day cycles. There you go. There's your daily astronomy lesson with Noxylicious. Anyway, isn't it crazy that in my time zone it's 9:36 a.m., but in someone else's it's 9:36 p.m.? So as I'm waking up, someone is getting ready for bed because their day is over as mine is just starting. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. I find it very annoying how the world doesn't revolve around what I'm doing constantly. This is truly what's wrong with today's society. Does anyone else hate it when you're full on beating yourself and then as you finally let yourself go all over your hand, it flashes to the guy, so you just came over a guy and now you're gay? Yeah, man, I hate it when that shit happens. No, like, seriously, that shit sucks. Why the fuck are you still here? Wouldn't it be more logical to wash your hands than hold your ding-dong to piss, since your ding-dong should be the cleanest part of your body unless you're a certified gooner with cream all in his pants? Yes, but what you should actually do is wash your hands before and after tinkling. I find it crazy how that's not the norm. Blink and fart to take a screenshot. I nutted. Can women move their pecs? Yes, but I've never seen a woman be able to bounce her bazonkas in a way that men can, so I guess that's just another reason to be gay. Someone probably has the world record number of wieners sucked but doesn't know it. Well, I'm at 1,117, so let me know where y'all are at in the comments. If everyone doesn't shower, we would all smell the same, and we would get used to the smell, and hence no one needs to take time showering anymore. This is every single Valorant player's dream fantasy. For most people in this server, the only woman that will ever love them is their mom. This is not true. Everyone in this lovely community has a beautiful, loving family who supports their every move. Unless they main Junkrat. And that's pretty much it. I got one final thought for you before I head off to my porcelain to drop a golden deuce. Since there is alternate universes, any decision you've made in your life has an alternate version where you chose something else. Meaning there's universes where you're the worst person in the world, and universes where you're the best person. But there's no universe that you got some bitches.